Okay, so what we have here is we're going to do our notes for our moon phases booklet. So as you can see, here's my booklet. Okay. Alright, so here is what I have. Here's my new moon, and basically what we're doing here is we are going to be explaining two things. My first question that we're going to have for everything is, let me move the ladybug here out of the way. Why do I see this? And when I'm talking about this, I'm talking about this picture here. Why do I see what I do from Earth? Okay? For a new moon, the reason why you see nothing essentially with a new moon is because the light from the sun is hitting the back side or the dark side of the moon. We can't see any of the light that's being reflected. So if you take a look at this picture right here, you have the sun, and the sun's rays are hitting the moon on the back side, which is not allowing us, we're here at the X on Earth, to see anything reflected. So all we see is the dark. There's no light there. Now remember, light cannot travel straight and then do one of these loopy-loop things. It doesn't work like that. Light does not bend like that without the help of a mirror or something like that. Light is naturally going to travel in a straight line. Okay? This question right here, where is the moon in relation to the sun and the earth? This is a direct question related to our objective. You need to be able to not only recognize the phases of the moon, as in this one's a new moon, which one's a crescent moon, things like that, but you also have to explain what the position of the sun and the earth and the moon, how it's all related. Okay, so where's the moon in relation to the earth and the sun, which is why you need to draw the view from space. In this particular instance, the moon is between the earth and the sun. So the moon's right here, here's the sun, here's the earth, it's in between. Something that you need to be aware of is when you're looking at these pictures, you need to keep an eye out for where is the sun actually, okay, because if you have a picture like this, where the sun is coming this way and it's hitting the moon like that, you're going to have a new moon right here. As opposed to if you have a situation like, let me find one really fast. Or if you have a situation like this, okay, where the sun, sorry if it's making you dizzy. The sun is coming in from this side. So this thing right here, the sun hits the back side of the moon here. Me sitting on Earth, I'm going to have my new moon right here. Okay? If the sun's shining from down here and hitting this, this is going to be your new moon. Same thing if the sun's on this side of the page, shining this direction, this is going to be your new moon. It's not always the sun comes from the top of the page. You need to look at each picture that you're using and look at the entire picture. Okay, so let's keep moving on. Okay, so next thing I have waxing crescent. Okay, now remember, the word waxing means growing or getting bigger. Okay, so remember, here's our two questions. Why do I see what I see on Earth? Because the sun's rays are hitting only a portion of the moon that can reflect light. And I'll explain that in just a second. How we're going to explain that is based off the relationship of the location. Okay, so what you have is the moon is starting to move counterclockwise, which means opposite of a clock. And I'm going to show you the picture over here. Okay, so if you look at my picture over here, I have the sun and the earth, and I have my moon, you'll notice, has moved a little bit this direction. Okay, now all the sun rays are hitting the moon right here. Okay, there's no sunlight hitting this side, so that's going to be the dark side of the moon. I am only going to see a tiny little portion of this. Okay, now as it moves, as the moon moves on this way, the more light that I'm going to see. With a waxing crescent moon, it's going to rise in the east after sunset. Okay, and it's seen best about 2 to 3 days after your new moon. Okay, by the way, you should be writing down everything you see. If you need to pause the video, feel free to pause. Okay, next we have our first quarter moon. Okay, this is also called the half moon. And an FYI, the sunlit side is on the right side of the moon. So you're looking at the moon, the right hand side is lit up. That's a first quarter moon. So why do I see it that way? Well, because a quarter of the entire moon's surface is lit up. Where is the moon in relation to the earth and the sun? It's actually 90 degrees counterclockwise from the sun. So in your diagram, you have the sun here and you have the earth, and then directly over here, you're going to have the moon. Wherever the sun is going to determine where the first quarter is. Let's say the sun is down here. If the sun is here, it's going to be 90 degrees counterclockwise, which means, okay, clockwise is this way, counterclockwise would be this way. So if the sun is here and the earth is here, your moon is going to be on this side. Okay, again, you have to pay attention to where the sun is in your picture. Okay, some FYI stuff here: rises in the east at noon, sets at midnight, and at sunset, the moon is going to be high above the southern horizon. Horizon mean where the land and the sky kind of meet. Okay. All right. Waxing gibbous moon. Waxing, remember, means growing. So why do I see what I do from Earth? Well, more light is being reflected from the surface that we can see. So in other words, the surface of the moon that we can see, we're starting to see an increase in that. Where is it in relation to the earth and the sun? Well, it's moving. It's in the process of moving from the side of earth in behind earth. Okay? Remember we talked about how the axis is tilted? So it's not going to be like in the shadow of the earth. It's just kind of moving in a behind location. This is a very bright moon. It's going to rise in the east in the afternoon and set just before dawn. Okay. Next thing we have is our full moon notes. So what do I see from Earth? What do you see during a full moon? Well, you see the full surface of the moon. The full surface that we can see is reflecting light from the sun. It is behind the Earth. The Earth actually sits in between the sun and the moon. Now remember, the Earth's axis is tilted, so it's a little higher than the Earth, so it's not blocked by the shadow. This is the only moon phase that shines all night long. Okay, it rises at sunset and sets at sunrise. The only one that's out all night. Next thing I have is the waning gibbous. Now remember, waning means shrinking. Okay, so why do I see what I do from Earth? Well, the moon is now in the process of moving from directly behind the Earth to the side of it again. Okay, and same answer for that. FYI, it's going to rise in the east well after sunset and set in the west just after dawn. Last quarter. Okay, remember, last quarter actually has two other names. It could be third quarter or it could be half moon. This is when you see half of the moon lit up. Okay, so you see a quarter of the moon's surface, or half of what we can see is lit up. Lit up by the sun's light being reflected, not because it's light that the moon generates. Okay, so where's the moon in relation to the sun and the earth? Well, if here's the sun and here's the earth, the moon is going to be 90 degrees clockwise from the sun. It's the exact opposite. So the, where'd it go? So if this picture right here was the first quarter, okay, where the moon's on this side, last quarter, the moon's on that side, as long as your sun is right there. Okay? FYI, it shows the sunlit side of the left-hand side. So if you look up at the moon and you see half of it lit up, and the half that's lit up is on the left, it's a last quarter or third quarter moon. Okay? Alright, moving right along, we have a waning crescent moon, and waning means shrinking. Okay, so what do I see? Why do I see what I do from Earth? Well, the sun's rays are hitting a small portion of what's visible to us. Remember, it's getting smaller. It's starting to get to a point where it's directly in front of us or between us and the sun. So how much light can be reflected is starting to be reduced. Where in the moon is relation to this Earth and sun? Well, I kind of just went over that. FYI, it rises a couple hours before the sun and sets a couple hours before the sun. Okay, it's pretty similar to what we have so far. And this one is really kind of hard to see. And then as you move from the waning crescent moon, you'd move back to the new moon, and then it starts all over again. Okay? If you've missed anything, remember you can always go back and you can pause the video for what you need to write down. Okay? Thank you.